The courtroom doors swing open, and in walks 18-year-old Madison Torres with all the confidence of someone who's never truly faced consequences. She's dressed casually, ripped jeans, oversized hoodie, earbuds dangling around her neck, and there's something in her stride that immediately catches everyone's attention. It's not nervousness. It's not humility. It's defiance wrapped in teenage invincibility. Judge Frank Caprio looks up from the file on his bench, his reading glasses perched on his nose, and he takes her in with that gentle, assessing gaze he's known for. The courtroom is quiet except for the soft shuffling of papers and the occasional cough from someone in the gallery. This is Providence Municipal Court, where parking tickets and minor violations are handled with more humanity than most people expect from the justice system. But today feels different. The clerk calls the case. Madison Torres, case number 2024-7893. Multiple parking violations, failure to appear, and contempt of court. Madison approaches the podium with her hands shoved deep in her pockets. She doesn't look at Judge Caprio. Instead, her eyes scan the courtroom like she's already bored, like this is beneath her. There's a smirk playing at the corner of her lips, barely there, but Judge Caprio sees it. He's seen thousands of people stand at that podium over his decades on the bench, and he knows the difference between nerves and arrogance. "Good morning, Miss Torres," Judge Caprio begins, his voice warm and even, like he's greeting a neighbor at the grocery store rather than someone who's ignored multiple court summons. "Morning," Madison replies flatly, still not making eye contact. Judge Caprio removes his glasses slowly, folding them with deliberate care before setting them on the bench. It's a gesture his regular viewers would recognize the moment he transitions from reading the law to reading the person. "I see here you've accumulated quite a few parking tickets. 5 of them, actually. And you didn't show up for your first court date." "I was busy," Madison says with a shrug, and there's an edge of attitude in her tone that makes the court officer standing nearby shift his weight uncomfortably. "Busy," Judge Caprio repeats, nodding slowly as if he's considering the weight of that word. "Well, we're all busy, Miss Torres. But when the court asks you to appear, that becomes your priority. Do you understand that?" For the first time, Madison looks directly at him, and what happens next sends a ripple through the courtroom. She tilts her head slightly, that smirk growing more pronounced, and says, "With all due respect, Your Honor, I don't think these violations are even valid. I looked up the statutes myself. I know my rights." There's an audible intake of breath from somewhere in the gallery. The prosecutor, a young woman in a navy suit, glances up sharply from her notes. Even the clerk, who's been doing this job for 15 years, raises her eyebrows. Judge Caprio, however, doesn't react with anger or offense. Instead, something flickers across his face, curiosity mixed with concern. He leans forward slightly, resting his forearms on the bench. "You looked up the statutes?" "Yeah," Madison continues, her confidence building. "I'm pre-law at community college. I've been studying constitutional law, civil procedure, municipal code. I mean, no offense, but half these parking restrictions violate equal protection principles. The signage is inadequate, the enforcement is arbitrary, and the fines are excessive relative to the violation. I could probably argue this whole case is unconstitutional." The courtroom has gone absolutely silent. This isn't the usual script. Most people who stand before Judge Caprio are apologetic, struggling, humble, not lecturing him on constitutional law. Madison stands there, arms now crossed, looking like she's just delivered a closing argument she's proud of. Judge Caprio sits back in his chair, and for a long moment, he just studies her. His face is unreadable, that gentle mask he wears hiding whatever thoughts are moving through his mind. Then, very quietly, he asks, "How old are you, Madison?" 18. "And you're in college?" "Community college, yeah. Second semester." "Studying to be a lawyer?" "That's the plan." There's pride in her voice, but also something else, something brittle underneath, Like ice over water. Judge Caprio nods thoughtfully. That's admirable. We need smart young people in the legal profession. People who care about justice, about fairness. He pauses, letting those words settle. But let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about it before you answer. When you say you're smarter than the system, smarter than the rules we have here, do you think that makes you exempt from those rules? Madison's smirk falters for just a fraction of a second. I didn't say I was smarter than. You implied it, Judge Caprio interrupts gently, but there's steel beneath the softness. You stood in my courtroom and told me that you know better. That you've studied enough to understand that these laws that govern our city, laws that keep our streets safe and orderly, don't apply to you because you found some technicality, some argument that makes you feel superior. He leans forward again. So I'm asking you directly, do you think you're smarter than this court? The question hangs in the air like smoke. Madison opens her mouth, then closes it. Her arms uncross slowly, and for the first time since she walked in, there's uncertainty in her eyes. She's been challenged, but not the way she expected. Not with aggression or authority, but with something far more disarming, genuine curiosity about who she really is beneath the bravado. I just think the system isn't always fair, she finally says, and her voice has lost some of its edge. You're right, Judge Caprio says simply, and that answer clearly surprises her. The system isn't always fair. No human system is perfect. That's why we have judges, why we have courtrooms like this one, where we can look at each case individually, where we can try to find the balance between law and mercy, between rules and reality. He picks up her file again, flipping through the pages. But before we go any further into your constitutional arguments, I want to understand something else. I want to understand you. Judge Caprio sets the file down and removes his judicial robe slightly, settling into his chair the way he does when he's about to have a real conversation, not judge to defendant, but person to person. This is the moment his viewers wait for, the moment when the courtroom stops being about law and becomes about life. Tell me about yourself, Madison. Where do you live? Madison shifts her weight from foot to foot. The confidence from earlier is evaporating slowly, like morning fog under sunlight. I live on the south side. Near the Providence College area. With your parents? There's a pause. My mom. And your father? Not in the picture. Her jaw tightens. Never really was. Judge Caprio nods, his expression softening even further. This is familiar territory for him: broken homes, absent parents, kids raising themselves. Your mom work? 2 jobs. She's a housekeeper at a hotel downtown during the day, and she does overnight shifts at a nursing home 3 times a week. That's hard work, Judge Caprio says, and there's genuine respect in his voice. Very hard work. So she's not home much? No. Madison's voice has gotten quieter. The attitude is draining away, replaced by something more vulnerable. And you're in college. Community college, you said. How are you paying for that? Financial aid. Loans. I work part-time at a coffee shop near campus. She swallows. I'm trying to keep my GPA up so I can transfer to a 4-year school. Maybe get a scholarship. Judge Caprio leans back, his hands folded across his stomach. That's a lot on your plate. School, work, probably helping your mother with bills. How many hours a week do you work? About 25, sometimes 30. And you're taking a full course load? 15 credits. So between work and school, you're looking at what, 60, 70 hours a week committed? Madison nods, and for the first time, she looks tired. Not just physically tired, but soul tired. The kind of exhaustion that comes from carrying weight no 18-year-old should have to carry. Judge Caprio picks up the file again, this time reading more carefully. These parking tickets. They're all from the same area. Near the college and near that coffee shop you mentioned. Tell me what happened. Walk me through it. Madison takes a deep breath, and when she speaks, the words come faster, like she's been holding them in. I park where I can find a spot. The campus parking pass costs $200 a semester, and I couldn't afford it. I was already behind on textbooks. So I park on the street, and I move my car when I remember, but sometimes I'm rushing between class and work, or I'm studying in the library and I lose track of time, and I come back and there's a ticket on my windshield. How much are these tickets? $35 each. So I'm up to what, like $175 now? Plus late fees. Plus late fees, Judge Caprio repeats. And you didn't come to court the first time because I was in class. My chemistry lab is at the same time the court date was scheduled, and I can't miss labs. If you miss 2 labs, you fail the class, and if I fail, I lose my financial aid. Her voice cracks slightly. I thought I could just. I don't know, I thought I could figure it out later. And then I got the contempt notice, and I just. She stops herself, pressing her lips together like she's said too much. Judge Caprio waits. He's good at waiting. He doesn't rush people, doesn't push. He just creates space for truth to emerge. I got scared, Madison finally admits. I got scared because I thought if I came here and told you I couldn't pay, you'd just add more fees, or maybe issue a warrant, and I can't afford any of that. I can't afford to have a record. If I want to go to law school someday, I need to keep everything clean. So you thought ignoring it was better? I thought I could handle it myself. She looks down at her shoes. I thought I was smart enough to find a way out. And there it is, the core of it. Not arrogance for its own sake, but desperation wearing the mask of confidence. Judge Caprio sees it now, clear as day. This isn't a spoiled teenager who thinks rules don't apply. This is a young woman drowning in responsibility, clinging to the one thing she has, her intelligence, like it's a life raft. When you walked in here today, Judge Caprio says carefully, you came in with your head held high. You challenged me. You told me you knew the law. Can I ask you something honestly? Were you trying to intimidate me, or were you trying to protect yourself? Madison's eyes snap up to meet his, and they're glistening now. Not crying, not yet, but close. I just didn't want you to think I was stupid. I didn't want you to think I was just another kid who screwed up and didn't care. Because you do care. Of course I care. The words burst out of her, louder than she intended, and she immediately looks embarrassed. Sorry. I care so much. I care about school, I care about my future, I care about my mom not having to work herself to death forever. I care about all of it, and I'm trying so hard, and it feels like no matter what I do, it's not enough. Judge Caprio's expression doesn't change, but something shifts in the atmosphere of the courtroom. The prosecutor has stopped writing notes. The clerk is watching with her hand resting against her chest. The court officer, a veteran of 30 years, has seen Judge Caprio work his magic countless times, but even he seems moved. Tell me about your mother, Judge Caprio says gently. What's her name? Rosa. Rosa Torres. And how is she? Health-wise? Madison hesitates, and that hesitation tells Judge Caprio everything he needs to know even before she speaks. She's okay. She has diabetes. Type 2. She's supposed to take medication, but sometimes she skips it because the copays are expensive. She skips her medication to save money. Yeah. So she can help you with school. Madison's face crumples slightly. I tell her not to. I tell her I can figure it out, I can take more loans, I can, but she doesn't listen. She says education is the only way out, the only way I'm going to have a better life than she did. Judge Caprio nods slowly. She sounds like a remarkable woman. She is. And you're trying to make her proud. I'm trying to make it worth it. Madison's voice breaks on the last word, and she quickly wipes at her eyes with the back of her hand. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have come in here acting like I knew everything. I was scared, and I thought if I acted confident enough, maybe you wouldn't see how scared I actually am. Judge Caprio takes off his glasses again, this time rubbing the bridge of his nose like he's carrying the weight of everything he's just heard. When he looks at Madison again, there's something in his eyes that everyone in the courtroom recognizes. It's the look of a father, a grandfather, someone who's seen too many young people struggle under burdens they shouldn't have to carry. Madison, let me tell you something, he begins, his voice soft but clear. You walked in here today and you told me you're pre-law. You told me you've been studying constitutional principles and civil procedure. That takes intelligence. That takes dedication. But you know what takes even more? Courage. And you know what I think? Madison looks at him, waiting. I think you've been using your intelligence as armor. I think you've been studying these laws and statutes not just because you want to be a lawyer someday, but because you want to feel like you have some control in a life that feels very much out of control. Am I right? Madison's breath catches. She nods, unable to speak. And when you got these tickets, when you got overwhelmed, you didn't see them as simple violations. You saw them as threats. Threats to your financial aid, threats to your future, threats to everything you and your mother have been working so hard for. So you did what smart people do when they're scared. You tried to think your way out. You tried to find the loophole, the argument, the technicality that would make it all go away. Yes, Madison whispers. But here's what I need you to understand. Judge Caprio leans forward, his elbows on the bench, his hands clasped. Intelligence is a gift. It's a powerful tool. But it's not a shield. It doesn't protect you from life. It doesn't exempt you from the struggles everyone faces. And it certainly doesn't mean you have to face everything alone. A tear slides down Madison's cheek, and she doesn't bother wiping it away this time. You came in here today trying to convince me and maybe trying to convince yourself that you're so smart you don't need help. That you can handle everything on your own. But Madison, needing help isn't a weakness. It's not a failure. It's human. The courtroom is absolutely still. Even the usual ambient noise, the shuffling papers, the quiet conversations in the back has ceased. Everyone is locked into this moment, this conversation between a judge and a young woman who walked in with walls up and is now standing there completely exposed. Judge Caprio continues, his voice taking on that quality it gets when he's about to say something he really needs someone to hear. Let me tell you a story. When I was young, younger than you, my family didn't have much. My father worked in a factory. My mother took in sewing to make extra money. We lived in a neighborhood not unlike where you live now. And I watched my parents struggle, and I promised myself I would do better. I would work harder. I would be smarter. I would make something of myself so they wouldn't have to worry anymore. Madison is listening intently now, her tears forgotten. And I did work hard. I went to school, I studied law, I became a judge. But you know what I learned along the way? I learned that no matter how smart you are, no matter how hard you work, there are going to be moments when life knocks you down. Moments when the bills pile up, when the responsibilities feel crushing, when you look at everything you're trying to accomplish and you think, I can't do this. I'm not strong enough. He pauses, letting that sink in. And in those moments, Madison, the smart thing, the truly intelligent thing is not to pretend you have all the answers. It's to reach out. It's to say, I need help. It's to trust that there are people in this world who want to see you succeed, who want to lift you up, not tear you down. Madison is crying openly now, her shoulders shaking slightly. "I just don't want to be a burden," she manages to say through the tears. "A burden?" Judge Caprio's voice is incredulous, almost fatherly in its disbelief. "Madison, you're 18 years old, working 30 hours a week, taking a full course load, trying to help your mother with bills, trying to build a future for yourself, and you think you're a burden because you got some parking tickets?" He shakes his head slowly, and there's something almost like anger in his eyes, but it's not directed at her. It's directed at a world that makes young people feel like they have to be superhuman just to survive. "Let me tell you what you are. You're a young woman with more strength and determination than most people twice your age. You're someone trying to build something from nothing. You're someone who loves her mother so much that you're willing to sacrifice your own well-being to make her proud. You're not a burden, Madison. You're a blessing." The words hit Madison like a wave, and she covers her face with her hands, her whole body trembling. The prosecutor discreetly wipes at her own eyes. Someone in the gallery sniffles. This is the moment that makes videos of Judge Caprio's courtroom go viral, not because of the drama, but because of the humanity. Because in a world that often feels cold and transactional, here's a judge who sees people as people, not case numbers. Judge Caprio gives Madison a moment to compose herself. He doesn't rush her, doesn't tell her to pull herself together. He just waits, patient and present, until she's able to look up at him again. "I want to ask you a few more questions," he says gently. "And I need you to be honest with me. Can you do that?" Madison nods, wiping her face with her sleeve. "These parking tickets, the $175 plus late fees, can you afford to pay them?" "No." The word is simple, honest, defeated. "If I were to dismiss them, would that help you?" "Yes," but Madison starts, then stops herself. "But what?" "But I broke the rules. I parked illegally. I didn't show up to court. Shouldn't there be consequences?" Judge Caprio smiles, and it's a sad smile, the kind that comes from recognizing something beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time. "There you go again. So worried about doing the right thing, about not getting special treatment, about proving you're responsible. Madison, do you know what I see when I look at you?" She shakes her head. "I see someone who's already facing consequences. Every single day. You wake up tired from working late, you skip meals to save money, you watch your mother sacrifice her health for your future, and you carry the weight of all of it on your shoulders. Those are consequences. Life has already handed you more than your fair share. But the law. The law," Judge Caprio interrupts gently, "is not just about punishment. It's about justice. And justice means looking at the whole picture, not just the violation." Judge Caprio picks up his pen and makes a note on the file, then sets it down again. He looks at the prosecutor, who's been sitting quietly throughout this entire exchange. "Counsel, does the city have any objection to a reduction or dismissal in this case given the circumstances?" The prosecutor stands. She's young, probably only a few years older than Madison, and there's something in her expression that suggests she's been moved by what she's witnessed. "No objection, Your Honor. The city's primary concern is compliance with parking regulations, not punitive damages against struggling residents. Given Ms. Torres's circumstances, the state recommends full dismissal." "Thank you." Judge Caprio turns back to Madison. "I'm going to dismiss all of your tickets. The $175 in fines, the late fees, all of it. You're going to walk out of here today with a clean record." Madison's eyes go wide. You're dismissing them?" "I am. But before you thank me, I want you to understand something. I'm not doing this because I think you were right to ignore those tickets. You weren't. I'm not doing this because I think the system is wrong and you outsmarted it. You didn't. I'm doing this because I believe in you." More tears stream down Madison's face, but she's smiling now through them, a look of disbelief and overwhelming relief washing over her features. I believe that you're going to finish community college with honors. I believe you're going to transfer to a 4-year school. I believe you're going to become the lawyer you're studying to be. And I believe that when you do, you're going to remember this day. You're going to remember standing in this courtroom, scared and overwhelmed, trying to be so strong that you forgot how to ask for help. Judge Caprio stands up, and this is unusual. He rarely stands during proceedings, but he does it now, wanting her to see him not just as a judge but as a person who cares about what happens to her. And I want you to remember something else. I want you to remember that when you become a lawyer, you're going to meet people just like you. Young people, scared people, people who are trying so hard to do the right thing but who are drowning in circumstances they can't control. And I want you to treat them with the same compassion I'm showing you today. I want you to see them as human beings, not just case files. Can you promise me that? Madison is nodding vigorously, unable to form words, her hands pressed against her chest. Because that's what the law is really about, Madison. It's not about statutes and precedents and constitutional arguments, though those things matter. It's about people. It's about using whatever power we have to lift people up, to give them a chance, to show them that someone believes in them when they've stopped believing in themselves. He sits back down, and the motion seems to release something in the courtroom. There's an audible sigh, a collective exhale from everyone who's been holding their breath through this entire exchange. Now, Judge Caprio says, his tone shifting slightly, becoming more practical, I want to talk about your car situation. You said you can't afford a parking pass at school? Madison shakes her head. No, Your Honor. And you need your car to get to work? Yes. The coffee shop is off campus, and the buses don't run late enough for my closing shifts. Judge Caprio nods, then looks at his clerk. Make a note. I want to reach out to the college parking office. Maybe we can work something out. Then, turning back to Madison, Indiana, the meantime, I want you to be very careful about where you park. Read the signs. Set an alarm on your phone if you need to. Because next time, and I hope there won't be a next time, another judge might not be as understanding as I am today. I will. I promise. Thank you so much, Your Honor. I don't know how to. You don't need to thank me, Judge Caprio interrupts gently. Just do what I know you're capable of doing. Finish school. Take care of your mother. Build that future you're working so hard for. That's all the thanks I need. But he's not done yet. He reaches into his desk drawer, and when his hand emerges, he's holding something. He motions for the court officer to bring Madison closer to the bench. Come here for a second, he says. Madison approaches hesitantly, not sure what's happening. Judge Caprio holds out his hand, and in it are 5 crisp $20 bills. This is from me, not from the court, he says quietly. I want you to take this and use it for your textbooks, or groceries, or whatever you and your mother need most right now. Madison stares at the money like it's something from another world. Your Honor, I can't. Yes, you can. And you will. Consider it an investment in a future lawyer. Slowly, trembling, Madison takes the money. And then, before anyone can stop her, she steps forward and hugs Judge Caprio right there at the bench. It's awkward and beautiful and completely against courtroom protocol, but no one moves to stop it. The court officer looks away discreetly. The clerk is openly crying now. The prosecutor has her hand over her mouth. Judge Caprio pats Madison's back gently, like a grandfather comforting a grandchild. It's going to be okay, he murmurs, just loud enough for the microphone to catch. You're going to be okay. When Madison finally steps back, she's laughing and crying at the same time, a sound of pure emotional release. I'm so sorry I came in here acting like I knew everything, she says through the tears and laughter. I was so stupid. You're not stupid, Judge Caprio corrects firmly. You're human. And being human means making mistakes, learning from them, and growing. That's all any of us can do. Judge Caprio returns to his seat behind the bench and picks up his gavel, but he doesn't strike it yet. Instead, he addresses not just Madison but the entire courtroom, speaking to everyone present and to the cameras that he knows will share this moment with thousands of viewers. You know, I've been on this bench for many years now. I've seen thousands of cases, thousands of people from every walk of life. And I've learned something important: there's a difference between someone who breaks the law because they don't care and someone who breaks the law because they're struggling. There's a difference between arrogance and self-preservation. There's a difference between disrespect and fear. He looks directly at Madison, who's still standing at the podium, clutching the money in her hand like it's precious. When you walked in here today, Miss Torres, I'll admit for a moment, I thought you might be the first type. The type who thinks rules don't apply to them. But I've been doing this long enough to know how to look beyond the surface. And what I saw was a young woman who's been taught by life that she has to fight for everything, that she can't show weakness, that asking for help is the same as admitting defeat. And I want to tell you, and everyone watching, that's not true. His voice grows stronger, more emphatic. The strongest people I know are the ones who have the courage to say I need help. The smartest people I know are the ones who understand that intelligence isn't about having all the answers, it's about knowing when to ask the right questions. And the most successful people I know are the ones who remember where they came from, who remember what it felt like to struggle, and who use their success to help others who are struggling now. Madison nods, absorbing every word like it's oxygen. I'm dismissing all charges against you today. Your record will remain clean. But I want you to understand that this isn't a free pass. This is a second chance. And second chances are precious gifts that we have to honor by becoming better versions of ourselves. Judge Caprio picks up a business card from his desk and hands it to the court officer, who passes it to Madison. That's the number for a legal aid organization here in Providence. When you start your third year of college, if you're interested, call them. They have a program for pre-law students. You can get real courtroom experience, help people who need legal assistance but can't afford it. I think you'd be good at it. Madison looks at the card like it's made of gold. Thank you, Your Honor. I'll call them. I promise. And one more thing. Judge Caprio's expression becomes even more serious. I want you to go home today and have a conversation with your mother. I want you to tell her what happened here. I want you to tell her that you were scared, that you felt overwhelmed, that you thought you had to handle everything alone. And I want you to let her be your mother. Let her support you emotionally even if she can't always support you financially. Because I guarantee you, Madison, the thing your mother wants most in this world isn't for you to be perfect or independent or to never need help. What she wants is to be part of your life, to share your struggles, to help carry the weight even if it's just by listening. The wisdom in those words settles over the courtroom like a benediction. Madison is nodding through fresh tears, understanding the deeper message beneath the surface that love isn't about being strong enough to never need anyone, it's about trusting people enough to let them see your weakness. I don't know much, Judge Caprio continues, a small smile playing at his lips, but I know about being a parent. I know about watching your children struggle and wanting so desperately to fix everything for them. Your mother doesn't need you to be perfect, Madison. She just needs you to be honest with her. She needs you to let her in. I will, Madison promises, her voice thick with emotion. I'll talk to her tonight. Good. Judge Caprio picks up his gavel now, preparing to make it official. Before I close this case, is there anything else you want to say? Madison takes a deep breath, steadying herself. When she speaks, her voice is clear and strong. I just want to say that I was wrong. I was wrong about a lot of things. I was wrong to ignore the court date. I was wrong to think I could handle everything by myself. And I was wrong to walk in here today acting like I was smarter than the system. She pauses, making eye contact with Judge Caprio. But most of all, I was wrong to think that asking for help was a sign of weakness. Thank you for teaching me that it's actually a sign of strength. Judge Caprio's eyes shine with moisture. You're going to be just fine, Madison Torres. More than fine. You're going to be exceptional. He raises the gavel and brings it down with a gentle tap that sounds like a promise, like hope, like the beginning of something new rather than the end of something old. Case dismissed. Good luck to you, young lady. Make us proud. Madison clutches the business card and the money, whispers thank you one more time, and turns to leave. But before she reaches the door, Judge Caprio calls out to her. Miss Torres. She turns back. Remember what you said when you walked in here? You said you'd studied constitutional law, that you knew about equal protection principles. He's smiling now, a warm, knowing smile. Well, here's a principle I want you to remember. It's not in any law book, but it's just as important. Equal protection doesn't mean treating everyone the same. It means treating everyone fairly. And fairness sometimes looks like mercy. Madison smiles back, a real smile that transforms her entire face from that defensive teenager who walked into the hopeful young woman who's walking out. I'll remember that, Your Honor. I'll remember all of this. And then she's gone, through the courtroom doors and out into the world, carrying with her not just dismissed tickets and $100, but something far more valuable: the knowledge that she doesn't have to face life alone, that intelligence and vulnerability can coexist, that asking for help isn't defeat but wisdom. The courtroom slowly comes back to life, the clerk calling the next case, the prosecutor organizing her files, the gallery shifting and murmuring. But there's a different energy in the room now, a warmth that wasn't there before. Everyone who witnessed what just happened feels the sense that they've seen something important, something that reminds them why justice isn't just about rules and punishments, but about seeing the human being behind every case number. Judge Caprio puts his glasses back on and looks at the next file on his desk, ready to meet whoever walks through those doors next with the same compassion, the same wisdom, the same belief that everyone deserves to be seen, to be heard, to be given a chance. Because that's what he does. Day after day, case after case, person after person. He looks beyond the violation to find the story, beyond the defiance to find the fear, beyond the bravado to find the broken heart that needs healing. And in a world that often feels harsh and unforgiving, he creates moments of grace, small miracles that ripple outward, changing lives in ways that legal statutes and procedural rules never could. Somewhere outside the courthouse, Madison Torres walks with her head held high, not with the false confidence of someone trying to prove something, but with the quiet dignity of someone who's been seen, truly seen, and found worthy. She pulls out her phone and calls her mother, and when Rosa answers, Madison says the words she should have said weeks ago: Mom, I need to talk to you. I need to tell you what's been going on. I need your help. And on the other end of the line, Rosa Torres, a woman who's worked 2 jobs and sacrificed everything for her daughter's future, feels her heart swell with a love so fierce it almost hurts. Because her daughter, her brilliant, stubborn, beautiful daughter, is finally letting her be a mother. Back in the courtroom, Judge Frank Caprio continues his work, unaware of that phone call, unaware of the transformation he's set in motion. But if he knew, he'd simply smile that gentle smile and say what he always says: this is what justice looks like when it's tempered with mercy, when it's guided by compassion, when it remembers that behind every case is a human being deserving of dignity, respect, and second chances. And that lesson, that fundamental truth about the practice of law and the meaning of justice, is worth more than any statute Madison Torres will ever study, more valuable than any degree she'll ever earn. It's the foundation upon which great lawyers are built, the principle that transforms legal practice from mere technical skill into something sacred, the art of seeing people as people, and treating them accordingly. The cameras stop rolling. The case files close. But the impact of this day, this moment when a frightened teenager learned that strength comes from vulnerability, that wisdom includes asking for help, and that the measure of justice is found not in punishment but in understanding, will echo forward through time, changing not just one life but every life that Madison touches as she builds her future as the lawyer she's destined to become. Retry.